I want to help you heal your trauma. And I also want to help you heal what is holding you back from being the person that I know you can be. So, to begin, I want to start with addressing and defining trauma. So, trauma is an emotional response to a distressing event that can cause lasting effects on an individual's health, whether it be mentally and or physically. So, right off the bat, to start, trauma is something that we all experience as humans. It's a universal experience. It's a shared experience. It's something that we all at one time have experienced, felt, went through. Some of us may still be grieving. Some of us still may be dealing with it. But we have all went through it at one time. Everyone has a bit of trauma. Everyone has a bit of baggage, emotional baggage. So with that being said, just understand that this is a shared experience. This is something that we all go through. So again, this is just the way that we are all more connected as humans. So beginning, I want you to understand that trauma isn't your fault in any case scenario. I know a lot of times us as trauma survivors, people who have been through trauma, they tend to blame themselves, I included. Um, it's easy to just point yourself out to be the victim and or the perpetrator of the reason why that trauma happened. It's easy to blame yourself because you have no answers. You didn't get closure from that situation. Most people don't get closure from that situation. So, the next person to look at is the man in the mirror, and we more than likely blame ourselves for the traumatic events that have happened to us, whether it be a physical or a mental traumatic event that's happened. I know some people who go through traumatic events within their family, whether it be a car accident, whether it be an abusive relationship. It's easy to just point yourself out to be the reason why it's happening to you. And I want you to understand that it is not your fault in any case scenario. Never blame yourself for the trauma that you have endured. So step one, getting that off the table, just understanding that it's not your fault. I think we as people, and to just help you heal your trauma, step one is just to learn that it's up to you to heal it. It's up to you to heal from the trauma that you have endured, because no one is coming to save you. And now, with that being said, it's easier said than done, as trauma is not very light. Like I said, for some, it's very traumatic. It's very terrible. It's very disastrous. It's a very terrible experience. For some, it's not as terrible. But again, not diminishing anyone's trauma, but some experiences are up here while some are down here, and that's okay. We don't all go through the same things. We all experience things differently, but understand that even if your problem is little compared to someone else's problem, it's still up to you to fix that problem. You know, I notice a lot of people, they go through life with the traumas and they blame their traumas for the reason the way they are. Some people are shitty people, terrible people. And, well, I'm not going to say shitty people. I don't think anyone's a shitty person. Some people just have shitty tendencies. Some people have shitty ways of living, and they contribute that way of shitty living to their trauma. They they explain it as if the reason why they are that way is because the traumatic event that happened to them made them this way. And while that may be true, because again, trauma shapes you into the person you are. Everyone has had a experience whether it be you're an anxious person, you're a very shy person, you're a very extroverted person, there was an event that led you to be in that position. If you don't talk a lot, there's probably an event that where you were made fun of for talking a lot or something in elementary school. This is just a hypothetical example, but that's the truth for a lot of people. And after that event, it just causes you to go mute because of fear of being in that, feeling the way you felt when the first time you were confronted about talking a lot. And that's a traumatic event that people carry for a long period of time in their life. That can happen in elementary school, and you're shy and very socially awkward and very socially anxious until the time you're 30 because you never took time to heal that trauma. So again, I just want us to understand, and I want you to understand and know what is coming to save you, and that you have to heal from your trauma. You cannot allow it to just control how you live your life and dictate the way you are as a person, because you are more than your trauma. Your trauma is just an event. You are a bright reason. You are a star. You are a gift. You are a blessing. Your experience in life is a blessing. Your existence is a blessing. To understand that you are more than your trauma. And for the second step to healing, I feel like as humans, we need to accept that it happened. Accept that your trauma happened. I know that's a very hard thing to do, but acceptance is the first step. Awareness is always the first step. Accept that it happened. Don't forget, but accept. And with that being said, I feel like a lot of times we hold on to this resentment, or we hold on to this anger or sadness from said traumatic event. And again, we carry that with us for years upon years upon years. It's from the day it happened until the time to the present moment. You know, it could be an event that happened when you were 5 years old. Now you're 25 and you still feel the same exact way you felt when you were 5 years old 20 years later. So again, and if you just think about how much time and effort you put into holding that resentment, you'll realize how much time and effort that you've lost not accepting and healing yourself from that trauma. You know, you lost 20 years just continuing to be mad about that instead of just accepting the fact that it happened. You know, it does suck, and again, I know it's easier said than done, but ultimately we are the prize. You know, if you want to be this all-loving person, if you want to be a person who is commendable, very loving, emotionally intelligent, a very loving, caring person, you have to understand that to be that person, you have to let go of the things that cause you from not being that person. You have to let go of the trauma that holds you back from not being from being a caring person. You know, you can't be a caring person if you were did wrong 10 years ago and you still hold on to that anger and resentment from 10 years ago, and that doesn't allow you to be a caring person. See how that doesn't work? It just contradicts each other. So to be the person you want to be, you have to accept and understand that sometimes bad things happen to good people, and it's not reasoned at all. Genuinely, you know, some people don't deserve it, but it's just the way life goes, and it's just a part of the game. So yes, understand that in order to heal, you must accept what occurred. You either decide to forgive said person or thing, or move on and grow from the situation. A prime example of this could be childhood trauma. Your parents were very toxic growing up. You know, they didn't love you properly. You grew up with very toxic ways of loving, very bad communication styles. You know, you weren't very affectionate. They weren't very affectionate as you were growing up, so you grew up to be a very unaffectionate person. You then get with said very affectionate person later on in your life, and now you're being confronted with this affection, and you don't know how to deal with it. Or again, you're being confronted with a person who is a great communicator, and you are a bad communicator because that's what you were shown and that's what you were taught growing up. And again, this is why I say it's not your fault, because children are very innocent. A lot of our trauma comes from when we were younger. Children are very innocent, and you are just, as a child, you learn from what is given to you. So if your parents teach you just toxic and negative ways of learning how to love, of loving, and show you that, you know, an abuse is love, you're going to believe what you see. So again, understand that it's not your fault, but it is your duty to heal from this trauma and grow and accept that it happened and not let it control you, because the term generational trauma is a real thing. Again, the parent example, you know, it can go as far back to your great grandparents. Your great grandfather, grandmother could have been a terrible parent to your grandma. And your grandma learned these terrible ways of loving, to communication, non-affectionate, and again, these are just examples, but she gathered and learned all of these toxic ways of living, toxic styles of love, and then she had a baby. She had your mom. And guess what she did to your mom? She spewed all of that negativity onto your mom because she didn't take that time to heal. She didn't take that time to understand that what happened to her wasn't her fault, but it's her duty and responsibility to do better for her children, so it doesn't happen to her children. But a lot of times, again, like I said, we carry this resentment and this anger with us for the rest of our lives for a very long time, and we kind of brush it off, and we don't realize that we are very toxic people until we are confronted with the fact that we're toxic people. Hence why people go to therapy, hence why people go to study sessions, seminars, to talk about these things and heal from these things. And again, back to the example, your grandma teaches your mom these things, and then what? Your mom has you. And again, Like I said, your mom is an innocent child being taught these ways, these very toxic ways. So what does she do to you? It's a domino effect. She trickles it down to you, and again, you are introduced to all these toxic ways of love, all these non good, not non good ways, but just very bad ways of being shown how to communicate, being shown how to love, being shown how to treat a person properly, being shown how to handle your emotions, how to dissolve conflict. You know, with anything in life, being shown how to just be a good person. Because if you're being taught to be a good person from a bad person, I don't. Those two are not. They don't click. They go opposite directions. You can't. A bad person can't teach a good person to be a good person, or a bad person cannot teach someone how to be a good person. I'm sorry, but again, when you're taught these things, you then have children, and again, you spew that negativity onto them, and again, that's just a cycle of generational trauma. So I feel like we, as you right now, whoever's watching this video, you have to make the decision to be better than your predecessors, your ancestors. You have to be better than your mom. You have to be better than your father. You have to be better than anyone who ever bestowed any trauma upon you. You have to be the bigger person. And I know it's very hard to do, but if you want to be a better person for your kids, for your family, for your wife, for your spouse, for your friends, you have to understand and accept that first, it wasn't your fault, but it is your duty to heal from this situation. And what the next point I wanted to make, I wanted to kind of backtrack a little bit. I know it seems a bit contradictory, but understand that it is all our first times living. Mistakes will happen. So, with that being said, it goes back to what I say about not holding on this resentment forever. Because I know a lot of times our trauma comes from our parents. You know, not in all cases, but it can be 8 times out of 10 is from our parents or from a loved one, from someone very close we grew up around. So understand that just as they taught you, they're teaching you all that they know. Again, because like I said, they probably got it from their parents or someone that they were very accustomed to. A loved one in their family taught them these ways. You don't just come into life being a toxic person. Babies are very pure and innocent. So we are taught these. It's like racism. Racism is taught. Toxic traits are taught. Not You don't just come into life very negative and toxic. It's taught. So understand that your parents, the person who bestowed that trauma upon you, it is their first time living too. You know, they were just not taught right, or they have not healed their trauma. You know, and understand that it's unfair for you to expect them to just not make mistakes. Just as you make mistakes, people make mistakes. Your parents make mistakes. You know, think about that one thing. Everyone has that one thing that their parents used to do as a kid. As a kid, that they hated so much. You know, but as a kid, you don't understand why your parent did it, and you know, as an adult, you still might not understand, and that's okay. But understand that it may have been terrible in the moment, and it truly may have been very vile, but it was a mistake. It was not the right decision to make and or to carry out with. But again, they knew no better because this is what they knew. This is what they were taught. So like, and you can say people know better, but again, if no one has taught them better, it's like expecting a 10-year-old kid to know how to do long division. You're getting mad at a 10-year-old kid for not knowing how to do long division, and no one's taught him how to do long division. No one's taught her how to do mental math. You know, no one's taught them how to do these things, so you cannot expect them to know how to do these things. You know, a lot of our expectations of people come from what we think we can do. You know, but again, when you understand that not everyone is you, not everyone had the same upbringing as you, it kind of just puts it together and solves the puzzle. That, you know, they may not know that this is wrong. You know, in hindsight, it might seem like they should know, but they just may not know. And that's why I need you to understand that mistakes happen. And again, it's all of our first times living. So just be accepting and understand. Again, I don't say that you have to accept and never forget. You can forgive. Do not forget, though. Do not be a fool. So just understand that mistakes will happen in life. You're going to mess up as a parent. You're going to mess up as a friend. Your parents will mess up as parents. Your friends are going to mess up. But again, if we all just understand that it's our first time living and that mistakes will happen, it makes it a little bit easier for the healing process, because it allows you to just disassociate the expectation that you have for that person. So, with that being said, again, I just feel like healing what is holding you back will allow you to become a better version of yourself. And with that being said, the topic I wanted to talk about today was trauma. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. I hope you guys took something from this video. Again, I want you to all just continue to take care of yourselves. That's what the game is about. Just bettering yourselves 1% better every day. So that's all we can do. As long as you're trying, as long as you're applying yourself, that's all that matters. 1% better every day. So I'm going to end this video right here. I hope y'all have a great night. Remember to take care of yourselves. Tell your loved ones that you love them. Hug your friends. And understand that mistakes will happen. Peace out.